Hey again, everyone. It's Rob Ryder. July 5th, 2019. Is your DD-214 killing you? The DD-214 has 8 copies with different variations of information, in case you didn't know that. I didn't until recently. What information does your long-form copy 4 contain? For myself, I don't know. They never gave it to me. In fact, I didn't even sign my DD-214. Somebody signed my DD-214 and said, member unavailable for signature. Well, after doing some reading, that could be a detriment to your entitlements. And so, we need to check our records. And we're going to find we all got a defect, I'm quite sure. So, hey, get involved and claim your American national status, which is being withheld from you, your retirement pay, which is made up of many things besides just retirement pay, your entitlements, which would be things that come off the ID card that you should have gotten, and your office of authority, because you will be a protected person under the Geneva Convention, protected by the Department of Defense. You and your family. So you, me, we are the United States on July 5th, 2019. So this video here kind of goes together with, we were going to say, well, what's on topic, right? It would be, I did a video yesterday, 2S or not 2S, and other inconvenient truths. It has to do with these different variations of ID cards that the DoD hands out. And then the 3 videos before that all have to do with the DoD being this 4th branch of government, and that we're under martial law. And since we're under martial law, we're under the Department of Defense's Law of War Manual, and what that can do for us. So if you're going to call me about anything else other than these, that would be off topic to me. But these are on topic, just so we know what we're talking about in the future. So just a few little things, right? I pointed out in the video yesterday that in 10 U.S.C., United States Code 506, right, that would be positive law. That would be the laws of the United States. It says regular components, extension of enlistment during war, lowercase w, war. And enlistment in the regular Army, regular Navy, regular Air Force, regular Marine Corps, or regular Coast Guard in effect at the beginning of a war or entered into during a war unless sooner terminated by the President, continues in effect until 6 months after the termination of that war. So veteran, you've never left the military. You're a soldier for life. If you look at the Army's website, it says soldier for life. It's the official website of the military, or the Army. And so, of course, I'm going to be talking about the Army, but this applies to all the different branches. And I'll be looking at some Army regulations that you may want to write the numbers down, because you can easily download all these things I'll be showing you off of Google, or whatever search engine you prefer to use. It's not hidden information. It's just not things that people normally talk about. And so because, we've been at war since the Civil War, as I pointed out in my last video, I won't go into too much detail now, but we certainly have been, for myself, when I got in the Army, we were in the Cold War, and then the war on drugs started. And then some other wars started after that. And so we're always at war. Anything that's a armed conflict is a lowercase w war. And so we're not under a civil government. We're under a military government run out of the DoD. And we would have tremendous authority in that system if we were recognized as a protected person. But because we don't have the proper ID card, we're not. And even if you have an ID card, unless you're in the military, unless yours says Geneva Convention card, then you're not talking the card that I'm talking about. So I'll show those again in just a second. But in one of these Army regulations, which talks about the separation documents, that's what the DD-214 is, it says signature of soldier being separated. That would be your Block 21. Where in my Block 21, it says member unavailable for signature. No, it's not very good. So signature indicates a soldier has reviewed the form and accept the information as being correct to the best of their knowledge. Request soldier sign the original in ink using ballpoint pen, ensuring signature goes through all copies when soldier is not available. So when would you not be available? Well, if you're discharged in absentia, like you just failed to appear, or you're physically unable, which means you're being held prisoner, you're POW. Right? Why couldn't you do it? Or you died, right? You're presumed dead. But that's the only reason for the soldier not to sign it. And mine says on it, member unavailable for signature. When soldier refuses to sign, enter soldier refused to sign. Well, it does not say that on mine, thankfully. So, hey, are you willing to work for what is yours by right? Because I'm sure that we're going to find, as I go through this, and you look at your paperwork and these manuals, you'll find where your defects are. And we all have them. And so really it's a class action thing. This isn't any individual's problem. So we should each have to go have our records corrected. Right? There should be some mechanism for to get a declaratory judgment from the Secretary of Defense and fix everybody's records. So the American Legion, the VFW, and other federal corporations, they should be our advocate in this matter. But unfortunately, these corporations' legal counsel has not complied with federal law. And they're not properly registered with the Secretary of State of the state where they're incorporated. Or not actually, not where they're incorporated, just where they are, because they're a federal corporation. They're incorporated in the District of Columbia. In any entity where they're at, they should be like a foreign corporation. They're under a certificate of authority. Is that what it is? Certificate of authority, right? That they get to operate in the state, but they still had to register in the state because they need to give the name of the registered agent and the address to send process to, and demands against the corporation. So we would be sending our demands against the corporation, who, if they were properly registered, would have direct access to the Congress, and the shit could all get cleared up if there was a Congress. And as I pointed out yesterday, nobody in Congress has taken a proper oath of office. They all say, "So help me God." Well, that doesn't comply with the 6th article of the Constitution. Same with judges. Same with the military as far as that goes. But what that means is we're not under a civil government, because we're not doing that. We're under a military government. And we have been since Abe Lincoln declared martial law in the District of Columbia. It's never been rescinded. Article 2 of the Lieber Code says until there's a proclamation or a special peace treaty or whatever exactly the words are, well, martial law continues. And that's represented by the gold fringe flag that you see flying in courtrooms, which is only supposed to be in a military courtroom. That would be an AR 840-10, Chapter 2. More on that in a minute. But, because this isn't done yet, and somebody has to work on it daily, well, please donate, right? Or pony up, for my opinion, on off-topic topics. If you're calling me about this stuff I'm talking about now, that's one thing, because this is what I'm working on. You want to call me about foreclosures, as I've talked about before, traffic tickets, or property tax, or all these other things, which I do have an opinion on, well, pony up. Well, it doesn't cost much. PayPal, Rob Ryder at AOL.com is the way to pay for it. Or you can send it in the mail to Robert Allen Retluski, 10955 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341. And my email address, just to email me, is courtofrecord at AOL.com. I don't really check any other sources for any incoming correspondence. I don't read the notes that people leave on the videos or the things that are on WordPress, or, I don't have enough time. Right? Just email me. And there's my phone number, 616-712-6179. But, I'm going to show you some things that if you didn't know this, you should. And I should say this, right? We're actually still in the military. So we need to, as veterans, we need to stop thinking of the active duty as different from us, right? They just have a different status, but we're all in the same organization. All right? We're their older brothers. And so if we tell them this is what's happening to us, it's going to happen to you, Well, now we got people on the inside that'll do something about it. And this isn't just an enlisted problem. It's it's an officer problem. It's a National Guard problem. It's everybody's problem. If you're in the military, somebody is keeping your entitlements from you. So we'll get into that more in just a second. Let me load some things up. Hang on here. I'm probably going to have a lot of starting and stopping in this video because I got lots of different documents I want to show. And, like one or two sentences in the whole thing. So here's one. This is the 2018, fiscal year 2018, Military Retirement Fund Audited Financial Report. You might want to write it down and download a copy. All right. Military Retirement Fund Audited Financial Report. Just pause for a second, write it down, go or know that I did it, and come back later and look for it. But all these things are going to be mentioned in the video. So, all right, just get a piece of paper and a pencil and pay attention. So this says that this MRS, Military Retirement something or other, is funded non-contributory defined benefit plan that includes non-disability retired pay, disability retired pay, survivor annuity programs, and combat-related special compensation. So, if you didn't know it, you can get disability retirement pay and along with the disability pay you already get from the VA. In fact, not going to read this whole thing, but if your disability is 30% or higher, according to the VA, then you are qualified for disability retirement through the DOD. Well, that's good to know, but I don't believe anybody's getting it. And they have a way to offset the dollars and then replace the dollars, and so it's all to your benefit to do it, right? You end up with more money. They're not going to take it from one and not give you the other. No, they go together. But the way you get this is you got to have the frickin' ID card to prove who you are, because the entitlements are tied to the ID card. And the ID cards, either we don't have them or they're inferior because they're not Geneva Convention compliant cards, which show then that you're a protected person under the DOD. But beyond that, it also has this survivor annuity program. So whether you got disability or whether you got retirement because of the number of years, or you got disability because you have a disability, it doesn't matter. You still get survivor annuity program, which was a special deal that the military worked out with Social Security. And so this isn't for everybody. So to have it, you have to be in the military. All right, and they call it this right here, that the Old Age Survivor and Disability Insurance. So the Servicemen's and Veterans Survivor Benefits Act brought members of the military into contributory Social Security system effective 1957. For the Old Age Survivor and Disability Insurance Program, military members must contribute the employee portion of the OS, OA, SID, SDI, the payroll tax. That's supposed to be Social Security. I guess that's the other name. That's the real name for Social Security, is the Old Age Survivors and Disability Insurance. Okay, with the federal government contributing the matching employer contribution. Only the basic pay of military members constitutes wages for Social Security purposes. One feature of OASDI, unique to military personnel, grants a non-contributory wage credit of $300 for each quarter between 1956 and 1978, in which such person received military wages, and up to $1,200 per year after 1977, which was $100 of credit for each $300 of wages, up to a maximum of $1,200. So it sounds like they did the same thing, just different. But the military's been funding your Social Security during the years that you're collecting wages. And they didn't do this for somebody else, so this is different Social Security than everybody else gets. That's my point. It'd be good to have. Okay, I wanted to show this too. A lot of these I'm just going to show, and we'll keep on going. But this is out of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, right? So UCMJ, Article 802, persons subject to this chapter And blah, 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 goes down there, gives all these different variations for A, and then it gets to B. And it says the voluntary enlistment of any person who has the capacity to understand the significance of enlisting in the armed forces shall be valid for purposes of jurisdiction under subsection A, and a change of status from civilian to member of the armed forces shall be effective upon taking of the oath of enlistment. Once you take that oath of enlistment, you're no longer a civilian. You're always in the military. You're a soldier for life. And so if you were to be pulled over, the side of the road, you would hand them your Geneva Convention compliant ID and say, well, you got to take me to the post. And under the UCMJ, if somebody wants to charge you with something, they need to swear to it. But when you go to court today, nobody swears to anything. It's just a free-for-all. You go to the court of the false accuser, the same place they took Jesus. That's the court you're going to. If somebody's willing to falsely accuse you, there's a magistrate there willing to condemn you for it. Right? And it's all Talmudic law. It's all as old as the Bible, and it's the other side of the Judeo-Christian system. All right? That's you living not as a Jew under old Jewish law, instead of living under grace in the kingdom of heaven here on earth in the Christian system. And the difference is your status. So you change your status and you change the laws that you fall under. And now you're protected under the UCMJ. That's big stuff. Now, I showed this manual last night. This is Department of Defense Manual number 1000.13. You might want to write that down. And this is volume 2. Actually, I showed volume 1 yesterday, which that's this one. All right, so there's volume 1, volume 2. Well, volume 1 tells you about the ID cards. This is what I covered in the video last night. And just really quick, I won't spend too much time on each of these, but some of it's good enough to go over numerous times. I just remember what page you're on. So, look, here's the ID card descriptions and population eligibility categories. So pay attention to the headings. Armed Forces of the United States Geneva Convention card. Geneva Convention's ID card. Right? Or you got U.S. DOD or Uniformed Services ID card, but it doesn't say Geneva Convention. Or you have Uniformed Service ID and Privilege card, which now has Privilege card added to ID, but it doesn't say Geneva Convention. Or you have Uniformed Service Geneva Convention card, ID card for civilians accompanying the armed forces. Or you have the DD Form 2, Armed Forces of the United States Identification Card, which most retirees would say that's a retiree card. So now let me ask you, do you have a 2S or a 2? Because a DD Form 2S, parentheses res, shall serve as ID for purposes of Geneva Convention requirements in accordance with reference R. And I'll show you that they actually say Geneva Convention on them. All right. Eligibility. Those population eligible for the DD-2S include, this is like if you're prior to 60 years old. For the res. If a member is captured as a hostage, detainee, or POW, the DD Form 2S shall be shown to the capturing authorities, but insofar as possible should not be surrendered. This is what you show the policeman. But say, I can't give it to you. You're going to have to read it through the window. Right? You don't surrender it. You can read it. Don't give them your driver's license. Give them your Geneva Convention compliant ID. All right, so who's eligible? The ready reserves who are not otherwise entitled to a DD Form 2S, RET, which would mean retired, which is an Armed Forces of the United States Geneva Convention Identification Card. Retired, and it's blue. Or a CAC, Common Access Card. Right, who else can get it? The Standby Reserve. I say that's everybody that's in the Selective Service System are eligible for this card. And then being eligible for the card and getting the card and then depending on if you're in the standby reserve, the ready reserve, or whatever the hell you're in, determines what benefits go with that card, and that's in the other manual. Now here's the after 60 DD Form 2S, RET, right? Not a 2S. This is the primary ID card for retired uniformed services member entitled to retirement pay, or retired pay. Benefits and privileges shall be administered by uniformed services as described in Volume 2 of this manual. Eligibility. Members of the uniformed services who are entitled and in receipt of retired pay or entitled and have waived their retired pay are eligible for DD-2S, RET. Well, at 60 years old, you're eligible for retired pay. Right? So you should have this card. Now, you may have a DD Form 2, which is United States Uniformed Services Identification Card, which is for National Guard reserves who have completed 20 credible years and have elected to be transferred to the retired reserve. They qualify for pay at 60, right? Well, they shouldn't have elected to go to the retired reserve. They should have elected to go to the DD Form 2S reserve and get a Geneva Convention card. So here's some ideas of what these look like. If you just put in common access card and look at some images, you can get up close enough to look. You'll see that some say, like this guy here, right, says Geneva Convention Identification Card. Or this one here says Identification Card. This one here says Identification and Privilege Card. Oh, what's this one say? This one says United States Uniformed Services Identification and Privilege Card. But it doesn't say Geneva Convention Identification Card. So there's all sorts of differences. And you want to make sure when you're done, you have one that says it's a Geneva Convention Identification Card. That'll give you the proper status in the DOD. Now you're a protected person under the DOD. Okay, so hang on just a second. I'll get some more stuff here. Okay, so this is Manual 2, Volume 2. Right, this one talks about what benefits go with the cards, and I'm going to do a separate video on these things more in depth. I just want to show, the parts that really stick out and why we should all get involved. And I know people have much better contacts than I do into the military or with the different the American Legion, the VFW, and so forth. If we can get them squared away, well, they can do it for us. We need to do it. Nobody's going to come do it for us. We got to do it ourselves. What the heck? Hang on a second here. So, benefits for former uniformed service members. This enclosure describes the benefits for former uniformed service members and their eligible dependents. Well, that would be veterans. Former members are eligible to receive retired pay at age 60. There you go. It doesn't say anything about having to do any years, nothing else. You're just eligible to receive retired pay at 60, so you can retire at 60. For non-regular service in accordance with Chapter 1223 of Reference C, but have been discharged from their respective service or agency and maintain no military affiliation. Former members and their dependents are eligible for benefits as shown in Table 6. So we go to this Table 6, and these first two have to do with medical. This is CHAMPUS, or whatever they call it now, CHC, civilian health care, and this is direct care, on-post direct care. Well, the former member and his spouse and his children can get those, as long as they comply with number 1. What's number 1? Yes, if the former member is age 60 or over and in receipt of retired pay for non-regular service, you can get it. But even if you couldn't get those, you still get an ID because you can get in the commissary, the MWR, and the exchange, right? Morale, welfare, and recreation. So if you can have those, it means you get an ID card because those are on post. You have to have the card to get on post. Now you go down further and it says, well, who else can have them? Now I'm just talking about the card, not necessarily the benefits, although you can see that mother, father, father-in-law, mother-in-law, stepfather, parent by adoption could get direct care on post, but they all can have an opportunity to have the ID card if they meet 3 or 4. What's 3? Yes, if a member is a household maintained or by or for an authorized sponsor. Right? So if you're taking care of your in-laws, your mom and dad or whatever, well, this is how you get them insured. And you get them protected with the ID card. This, now theirs may not say Geneva Convention compliant, but hell, I don't know, maybe it will. I don't know. Because if you're in the military and they're accompanying you, then, they're civilians accompanying the military. So they should be able to get a Geneva Convention card too. I just know that changes your status big time. Right? So that's for 6. But then they have a different one for retired members. Right? So if they have one for retired members, which has its own list of things, 7, 8 talks about these, and then it has all these for the dependents of retired members. This all ends up being about the same as what we saw in 6. Right? But if this one's for retired members, then you must not have to be retired to get this one. And I'm saying this is the one we should have right now, even if we haven't received retirement pay at 60, because you're, 40, you can still get the card. And this is the card everybody should have that is a veteran. If you're not 60, and then at 60 you'll get a different card that, maybe puts you into this other one over here. That's what I'm thinking. That's why I want somebody else to figure that shit out for us. So that's it on the benefits, right? So now let's talk about that damn DD-214 and the shit they did to us. Hang on just a second. Japers. Okay. So first of all, I want to show you that this DD-214, all right, and this comes out of a manual. All right, write it down, DODI 1336.1. All right, you put that into Google, you'll find a copy. But here's the first copy, and this is the one most people get, and it ends at item 22. It says member, right? That's the one they gave me. That says right here in this block, signature, that I didn't sign it. Member unavailable for signature. Signed for me in absentia, like I'm AWOL or something. Or, I'm missing in action. Certificate of release or discharge from active duty. Now here's the one that the service gets, copy 2, which, it's the same up until 22, and then it's got that tab at the bottom. Type of separation, character of separation, or character of service. Separation authority, department separation code. Can't really read them all, but you can download your own copy, you can have it. So here's another one. This goes to Veterans Administration with a blocked out line. Here's the next one. This is yours. This is copy 4 that says down in this corner that you wanted a copy, so they gave it to you. But since I didn't sign mine, I didn't get one, so I don't know where my copy 4 is, but I don't have it. If somebody has theirs, if you would scan it and send it to me, I'd like to see what they put in these things. I'll show you the manual where, we can figure out what all that means. But, right, here's another one, Department of Labor. Well, I'm blanking that thing out. State Director of Veterans Affairs, blanking out that same line. They blank out this narrative line for some reason, but the service gets a copy. It's got it on there. Right, so the service gets 3 copies that have the blank where whatever was written there will be shown. And the member gets a copy where the blank shows whatever was in there, right? Narrative, reason for separation. But if you didn't get a 4, you don't have this. And when I went to get my ID card, this is what the guy was asking me for. He was asking me for, when I say guy, I mean the Rapids clerk that would input the information to check the DEERS system to make sure that you're in DEERS and your information is correct. Right? Now, there's another thing. In DEERS, my information has my name as Rytlewski, comma, Robert A. And it has my birth date as September 1st. My birth date is September 5th. And of course, my name is Rytlewski Robert Allen if we have to do it that way, but I don't have a middle initial. And on my discharge, it's got Robert Allen. On this DD-214, it's got, Rytlewski, comma, Robert Allen. So there's no reason for the sponsor in my DEER system to have a middle initial. And yet there it is. And they really can't explain it. So this is the document that we're talking about, and this is the copy most everybody has. You might find, even for your deceased member, right? If you're because I'm talking about all this stuff will eventually, it applies to all survivors also. So, okay, that's on that. Now we got, that's administrative separations. Oh, yeah, let's just write these down real quick. Okay, get your pencil out. Put AR 635-200. Right, it'll be the active duty enlisted administrative separations. But you put AR 635-200 into Google and you'll get a copy. DOD instruction 1336.1. 1336.1. This is certificate of release or discharge from active duty, DD-214. Army Regulation 635.5 or -5. Separation documents. That's what DD-214 is. And then Army Regulation 635-5-1, Separation Program Designator, the SPD codes, which is the information they're going to be putting into one of these boxes on the part of the DD-214 that we never got to see. So I got to look at these and see what order I wanted to show you. I just want to make sure you got the numbers, right? Write those down and we'll go from there. Hang on just a second. Okay, this is AR 635-5. In 2.4, completing the DD-214. All right. Basically, don't leave any blanks. If there's something there, put none. Or NA. And on mine, on the block that says days accrued leave, which could be a different number depending on which one you have. Mine is block 17. They didn't put anything in there. It's NA. It's blank. So that's a small defect, right? But it's a defect. The biggest thing on here is for soldiers released from active duty due to void or voided enlistment, the following exceptions will apply. 1. Block 9, command to which transferred, enter NA. Well, mine's got an NA entered in it. Right now, there's other reasons it could be in there, but that's one of the reasons, right? Is a soldier released from active duty due to void or voided enlistment, the following exceptions will apply. The command to which transferred, the DD Form 214, Item 9, entry determination, see Table 2.1, enter the applicable location dependent on soldier status on transition. So you're going to have to look at all these yourself and then look at yours to see what they say. But here, 16 days accrued leave paid as provided by local finance office. Enter the number of days accrued leave being paid to the soldier or the word none. And mine's blank. 17, dental exam and treatment for prior separation. And treatment prior separation. Mine says dental care was not provided within 90 days prior to separation. And so maybe it's a mandatory thing that they're supposed to do it for you, and this is the idea that you never showed up. You never got your dental exam done. "19, mailing address after separation. This address must be a permanent address. Civilian penal institutions will not be accepted. Advise soldier that the name and address of relatives should be someone who will know their location and address at all times. When a relative is not available, use a close friend." So, I don't know. Mine has an address on it. I lived down it as a kid, but it was quite some time ago. Request for forwarding a copy. Forget that. Signature of a soldier, right? The signature indicates soldier has reviewed the form and accepted the information as being correct to the best of their knowledge. Request soldier sign the original in ink using a ballpoint pen, ensuring signature does not go through all copies. When the soldier is not available, discharged in absentia, or physically unable, enter soldier not available to sign. When soldier refuses to sign, enter soldier refused to sign. Well, mine says member unavailable for signature. So they didn't use the words they're supposed to. I mean, this is a regulation. It said put soldier not available to sign in the box. And if it was my job to make sure that's what had been done, well, that's what you'd be putting in the box, or, you're going to have to go do it again. Then we get into the parts that are, below the line. Type of separation. Enter appropriate terms listed below. Discharge, retirement, release from active duty, release from ADT, release from custody, release from ADT. Now that all there is, that's this part here. Type of separation. Character of service. Honorable, under honorable conditions, under other than honorable, bad conduct, dishonorable, uncharacterized. All right, so it'd be kind of important to know what this says down here in case you need to have your record changed. Because like myself, I left the military and I went to work in a nuclear power plant. Well, to work in a nuclear power plant, you got to have a security clearance just like you did for the military. So FBI background, all this other stuff. And, I'm working in a nuclear power plant. Yet, apparently, I got errors in my DD-214 that would make you think I had bad conduct. Separation authority to be completed on copies 2, 4, 7, and 8 only. Okay, so that's 25. So this, because 2, 7, and 8, those are the ones the service is keeping, and 4 is the one you're keeping. What did it say? Separation authority? Separation code. No, separation authority right here. To be completed on 2, 4, 7, and 8. Enter from frequently regulatory directives authorizing the separation for soldiers ordered to ADT or ADSW. By self-terminating orders, enter self-terminating orders, order number, course, and date. So these are the numbers that must come from some other manual. Separation code 2, 4, 7, and 8. Obtain correct entry from AR 635 5-1, which provides for corresponding separation code, designated code for the regulatory authority, and reason for separation. Reentry code, narrative for reasons of separation. This is based on regulatory or other authority and can be checked against cross-reference in AR 635 5-1, because they may have written one thing in the narrative and somebody made a Scrivener error and put the wrong code in the box. And so now we need somebody to look at the difference and say, hey, you made a mistake. For soldiers ordered to ADT and all these other things, right? Dates of time lost during this period. Soldier request copy 4. Always enter yes and provide this copy to the soldier before taking permissive temporary duty or transition leave. So, that's the one thing about this absent in absentia. It's like you taking a leave of absence, right? You never came back. Crazy stuff going on. Okay, let's look at these codes, right? So this is 635 5-1. And they have codes for officers. Separation program for officer personnel. I'll let the sirs look at that on their own. And ma'ams, go ahead, it's in there for you. Separation program designators applicable to enlisted personnel. Completion of required active service, insufficient retainability, reduction in force, alien, fraudulent entry, parenthood, military personnel security, disability, erroneous entry, A lot of these aren't very flattering, right? Misconduct, 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 drug rehabilitation failure, right? Hey, if somebody made a mistake, because all these seem to start with a J, and then they go to K. All right, if you gave you a JK, JN, JP, it's not very flattering. Voluntary discharge, right? We got some with Ks now with possibly defective enlistment agreement, secretarial authority, hardship, alien civilian school, or attended civilian school. Anyways, it goes on and on and on. They have all these in there, and if we don't know what those are that are in ours, we don't know what our status is, because this is the thing, right? This is the code, separation code, that they're supposed to compare to the narrative to make sure the narrative is the same as what the separation code says it is. Right? If you're going to put RBD, then you need to put sufficient service for retirement. If those aren't the words they wrote, they wrote something else, like they wrote parenthood, then it better say MGD next to it. So that's how simple that is. The last one to look at, administrative. Right, in absentia. I want to look at. Let me look this up. I'll be back. Hang on a second. So what if instead of getting an honorable discharge, you got an administrative separation and you don't know it because somebody put the wrong code in? It wasn't intentional, but hey, scriveners have been known to make errors. So we're just going to search the word abstentia here. Discharge in abstentia is on page 50. I have to remember that. That's page 43. Let's see. A soldier for paying allowances, see Department of Defense, financial, something or other. A soldier in duty status who is delivered to civil authorities in accordance with 6-10 prior to ETS will be credited with a period of time in the hands of civil authorities in the computation expiration of service date unless finally convicted prior to the ETS. When the term of service expires, the soldier will be separated in absentia by reason of ETS. Whatever the heck that means. A soldier beyond military control by reason of unauthorized absence may be issued and under other than honorable condition discharge in absentia only as provided in 215 of Chapter 14, except when directed by HDQA. Oh, in Chapter 215 or Chapter 14. You have to come back and look at those. Discharge in absentia. Except as provided in 312, a soldier placed on excess leave without pay pending completion of appellate review. See AR 600-810. Note to self, have to go look at that. May be discharged without returning to a military installation when the sentence is affirmed. When appellate review is completed and affirmed sentence order executed, the appropriate discharge documents will be completed and mailed by certified mail. The documents are mailed, return receipt requested to the address furnished by the soldier. The return address will show as Commander, USA, HRC, DARPA, DARP, so forth, Reserve Way, St. Louis, before departure. Okay, so there's one way they could screw you. And I said Chapter 14. What's Chapter 14 say? I'm sorry, I just know I can get into too much detail on these. There's too many things to go look at. Separation for misconduct. Well, that's what they could get you for. Right? So if you've been discharged in absentia, it could be that it's a leave of absence or that you've been separated for misconduct. For all sorts of, nefarious reasons. All of which would affect your ability to collect your honorable and entitlements because basically, according to U.S. Title 10, United States Code, Section 506, once you enlisted, as long as there's a war going on, you stay enlisted. Okay, so now we find out there's errors. What are you supposed to do about it? Well, in the Army, they have an Army Review Board agency. And you're supposed to fill stuff out and send it to them, have them look at it, right? Because these 3 different boards. Have to look at that closer later. Hang on just a second, please. Okay, hey, we're almost done. Just a few more minutes. I want to show you some things, other sources of information. So a guy did some videos a long time ago on the secret code on veterans DD-214. And, right, so if you Google that, put that in YouTube, you can find this guy talking about these codes. It's been a while since I watched it, and I don't know that he had access to these codes or the long form DD-214. I'm not really sure what he had. It's quite old, so not all this stuff I'm showing you now is all on the internet, but 10 years ago it wasn't. Now we can find all this information. So what I wanted to show you, though, is, the people that should really be able to help veterans with this are other veterans, and such as the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, because both of these are federal corporations, and according to Title 28, the Judiciary Code, in the definition section, which is 3002, so 28 U.S.C. 3002, under 15, it says United States means a federal corporation. That's one of them. An agency, department, commission, or board, or other entity of the United States. That's another one. Or instrumentality of the United States. Those 3 things are the United States. Well, so a lot of people say, well, the United States is a federal corporation. Or federal corporations are the United States. That's the way I'm saying it, right? The federal corporation I'm speaking of are the American Legion, the VFW, and a number of other ones that are all under Title 36 of the United States Code. They're patriotic. Well, that's just, they have federal corporations, and then they split them up from there. So in the American Legions, federal corporation. This isn't a state corporation. This is, agreed to by Congress. In fact, these people have to report to Congress, or they're supposed to be reporting to Congress. United States Code, Title 36, Chapter 217, the American Legion, created by Act of Congress. Right? Not created by 5 guys in the back room. No, by an Act of Congress. In 1919, a federal charter, the American Legion, is, in this chapter, is a federally chartered corporation. Except as otherwise provided, the corporation has perpetual existence. And it's just that little caveat as otherwise provided. So what this purpose is? To uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States, to promote peace and goodwill among peoples of the United States and all nations of the earth, to preserve the memories and incidents of World War II, of 2 world wars, and other great hostilities fought to uphold democracy, to cement the ties of comradeship born in service, and to consecrate the efforts of its members to mutual helpfulness and service to their country. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. And by the way, I am a member of the American Legion. All right? But the problem isn't at the bottom, it's at the top. And it isn't necessarily the people, it's the system. Because it isn't properly constituted, as we'll see. So then you have the membership, who can be in, and basically, I want to point out, honorably discharged or separated from the service or continues to serve honorably during that period or after that period. That means, people that are active duty could be in the American Legion. If you know when that is, you need to go talk to them. So what kind of powers would they have? Well, they can adopt a constitution and bylaws. They can alter the corporate seal. They can, they can do this and that and everything. This is the big one. They can sue and be sued. And do any other act necessary and proper to carry out purposes of the corporation. In other words, they can go to Congress because they were created by Congress. Exclusive rights to the name, right? The American Legion or American Legion, those names are owned by the American Legion. It's the full legal name. The American Legion is the full legal name of the American Legion. Not with anything added afterwards or before, just the American Legion. Now here's where we have our problems, right? Because service of process. As a condition to the exercise of any power or privilege granted by this charter, the corporation shall file with the Secretary of State or other designated official of each state the name and address of an agent in that state on whom legal process or demands against the corporation may be served. So every Secretary of State has got a listing of all the corporations that can do business in the state. And they would have had to given them that information with the main reason for doing it is to have the name of the registered agent to give process to so that you can say that the corporation's been properly served. But also, annual report. No later than January 1st of each year, the corporation shall submit a report to Congress on activities of the corporation during the prior calendar year. The report may not be printed as a public document. Well, if it can't be made public, then it must be governmental. Seems that the American Legion is part of the government. It just isn't able to use its powers because it didn't put a registered agent with the Secretary of State. I'll show you the evidence in a second. Going on, though, just real quick, because now we'll get to the Constitution of the American Legion. And the name of this organization shall be the American Legion, capitalized, the American Legion. The national headquarters of the American Legion shall be located at the site of the Indiana War Memorial, the Indiana World War Memorial in the city of Indianapolis, Indiana. Which would mean I should be able to go to the Secretary of State of Indiana and find the registered agent listed for the American Legion. And if I can't find it, I should be able to find out from the American Legion who it is, which I've tried to do, and they've failed to answer me. It's no different for the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States. They also have a congressional charter. So do disabled American veterans, and there's like 90 different entities that have a charter. And they all have different powers, but these are the powers of the ones I'm talking about. Federal Charter, Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, that's its full legal name, a national association of men as soldiers, sailors, marines, and airmen, served this nation in wars, campaigns, and expeditions on foreign soil or in hostile waters, is a federally chartered corporation. It's not chartered by the state, it's chartered by the federal government. And so when it goes to register in your state, it's coming as a foreign entity. And so it would have a certificate of authority to do business in the state under its own charter. Right? That's the reason we're doing it that way, because then the people in it are governed by the laws of the charter, and the charter is in the United States. So that puts you in the United States, not in state of Indiana, state of Michigan, state of Ohio, which is different than Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, right? Kent County, Michigan is not the same as County of Kent, state of Michigan. If you look, myself, I live in Kent County, Michigan, so I'm told, but when I go to court, it would say County of Kent, state of Michigan. It's a different venue. That's that serpent working again, and it has very similar purposes. To preserve and defend the United States from all enemies. Okay, well, as I pointed out in my video yesterday, and God knows how many different times, there's nobody in Congress with a proper oath of office. They don't have a proper certificate of election to hold the office. The judges that say they're federal judges aren't judges of the judicial branch, they're judges in the administrative branch. So they don't have any authority under the civil Constitution, they're just working under everything that's happening is happening under the administrative branch. So to say that your government is doing this to you is incorrect. What it is are people who are usurping the power of the government and pretending to be the government. Uncle Sam loves his veterans. He gave you all sorts of things. But it's these fork-tongued attorneys and politicians that are separating us from our property. Same kind of power, sue and be sued, do any act necessary, whatever it takes, get her done, right? Get the name. Hey, they got to do the same thing. As a condition to the exercise of any power or privilege granted by this chapter, the corporation shall file with the Secretary of State or other designated official of each state the name and address of an agent in the state on whom legal process or demands against the corporation may be served. So we're going to go look to see if we can find them. And they had to file a report with the Congress also. And hey, it can't be made public. Well, then it must be secret, confidential. It's official. So what's going on with these two places? Well, here's one of them. Now this is so this was the American Legion. All right, I went to Indiana Biz and I put in the American Legion. And I found pages of them, but I didn't see any that just said the American Legion. So I did it again. I said, well, let me put it first. Now it's the American Legion. But all these with the American Legion have something after the word American Legion. And so then I said, well, because you had these different choices. Okay, I want specifically the name, the American Legion. There's no data found. It's not registered. The American Legion, the name of the corporation, is not registered in Indiana, yet that's where its headquarters is supposed to be. Well, then I tried American Legion, the other name they can use. And, here's District American Legion and something or other, Yukon Post, something or other, American Legion. Right? They got these post numbers in front. Well, that's not what I'm talking about. So now we'll put it first, American Legion first. And, well, we got close, except this one's got 447 after. So none of them with just American Legion. And sure enough, it doesn't exist. Well, then I went and I looked in Florida. I put in the American Legion. I said, hey, I got a hit. Right there it is. It's active. But when I went to look at it, it says there's no name history, no events. It may be active, but there's nobody listed. There's no agent listed, which was the reason for doing it. And then it has this docket number, right? So I checked under the docket number and by name, and well, neither way is there any information. I looked in Michigan, the American Legion, got a hit. All right, then had all these different ones. But under the American Legion, when I went and looked at it, it said date of dissolved. It was dissolved in 1981. And this information is no longer any good. It has resident's name, but it doesn't have a mailing address. It's below here. That was blank. Right? So in 3 different states I've looked, and I looked at other states, I just didn't put them on this list at the time. The American Legion is not registered with the Secretary of State. And that has to happen. And so we need to go to the American Legion and tell them you guys need to register with the Secretary of State. Because if they did, they could help all veterans get these damn benefits without each of us trying to go to a review board to have it looked at. That's my 2 cents. Okay, and one other one. Right, just to show I'm not picking on the American Legion. How about veterans of foreign wars of the United States? Well, no, not just that way. And how about we start by itself? I said, hey, I found one. Look at that. There's one right there. There's veterans of foreign wars of the United States. So I clicked on it. You see here it says it's foreign legal name. As it turns out, it wasn't. This isn't created in Illinois, and the one I'm looking for isn't created in Missouri. If it was created anywhere, it was created in the District of Columbia. Right? It would be a foreign nonprofit corporation, but it would be from the District of Columbia, not from Missouri. And plus, it wasn't the full name. See, that's what they used here. Veteran of Foreign Wars of the United States. That looks proper, but the proper name, the full legal name, in the jurisdiction where it's registered, has got a comma, INC after it. Yeah, that's how, devious people are. And then looking just under the name, Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, all by itself, well, that was the only one that came up, which I've already said, that isn't going to make it. Well, now let's look for Veterans of Foreign Wars in Florida. And they got it with the ink and all these other things. Here was one. Veterans of Foreign Wars in the United States, but it's inactive. And so I opened one up just to take a look, and, so as we saw in the American Legion, there wasn't any other information at all. This one used to exist. It was involuntarily dissolved, right? Veterans of Foreign Wars in the United States, Inc., which isn't the proper one, but it was one that was registered, and it had people, principal address, a mailing address, a registered agent. That's the stuff we would be looking for, but it needs to be for, in this case, Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States that was created in the District of Columbia, or the American Legion created in the District of Columbia. And that isn't what's happening. So, japers. Thankfully, I'm just done right now. I don't really have anything else to show you that I can think of. But I will ask again, if you can, please donate, right, by PayPal to robryder@aol.com, my mailing address. Whatever you can do to help, much appreciated. I'll leave it there for today, and next we'll get in deeper into what are the benefits to all this. But before we get to the benefits, jeepers, we need to get the ID card. So have a great day. See you later.